Hey, what's up guys? Tasty I'm on vacation chunks here. And I was gonna make a video about the one comment saying who I should play next, and they said Groot. I'll get around to it, I promise. It'll be the next one I actually do. Unfortunately, I saw that comment after I had spent an entire fucking week playing nothing but Wolverine, so here's how to play Wolverine. Now the first thing that you need to know about Wolverine, alright, goddamn. Now, the first thing you need to know about Wolverine is he actually has a secret ability that not many people know about this one. So what you're gonna do is when you're in the spawn room, right? You're gonna press H, and then there's an Easter egg. This makes you win more games. You're gonna pick either Hela or Hawkeye, and you're gonna play them instead. Thanks for watching this week's video. I'll see you all next time. Alright, but in all seriousness, there is a secret about Wolverine that the game won't tell you. He's actually got an extra passive. Now, if you're looking at his abilities here, you might not know what that is because they forgot to put it on this screen. But if you look at the website, you can find out that his base damage is tied to the opponent's max health. Can you shut the fuck up so I can talk? His base damage with his primary is tied to his target's max health and his rage. What this means is, just in terms of his primary damage, he's actually going to do more damage out when he is damaging a higher target opponent. But he also has a couple other passives that are pretty solid too. Now, one of these passives is that when he gets on crit, he's actually going to heal based on how much rage he has. But this is on a quite hefty cooldown, like you can see. If you know about those two passives, you will be able to feed slightly less than most Wolverine players. The rest of his kit is pretty straightforward. We have just a basic sort of lunge. This is going to be what you're going to use to get in on opponents or to traverse the map. It can also be used to extend a combo or to initiate a combo. The bread and butter of your Wolverine gameplay is actually going to be starting to sneak up, then you're going to pop your Undying Animal, which decreases the amount of damage you take before engaging. Then you're going to hit Rampage into Leap, close the distance, and move the opponent out of a certain area. The main goal with this character is to take characters, especially tanks, away from the front line into a more isolated area where you can 1v1 them, because you do actually win these ones against tanks. Part of the reason why Wolverine is so ass, though, is the fact that not many people play tank. They're just playing Hela or Punisher or Hawkeye or any other DPS, Psylocke. So the amount of times you actually get to have fun on this character is pretty limited, and the rest of his kit isn't that great either. But you can hit some like cool combos with his ultimate to really just absolutely burst down people. For the most part, though, I would actually encourage that you use your ultimate as either a disengage, kind of similar to how you would use a Doomfist ult, or to extend a combo, and really get that tank away from the front line as much as possible. If this is your team looking at their front line, your gameplay is going to look a lot more like this: sneaking up behind them, waiting for an opportunity to get in on their tank, kidnapping them, and bringing them to your team while you absolutely chunk down their health and get resources. Now, your biggest hindrance to playing Wolverine is going to be the fact that you're playing Wolverine at all. He is really not good right now, but it's hard to tell whether or not that is the fact that he is terrible or this is just an awful meta for him. The main characters you're going to want to watch out for are any long-range DPS or supports, because since your damage is tied to max HP, your damage does not scale well with squishies. Most squishies can 1v1 you better than you can 1v1 them unless you hit them in an absolute blender of combos or ultimates, or have ridiculous pocket from a character like Luna Snow. Wolverine is very impactful in terms of shutting down the enemy tank and getting picks on them. So if, say, hypothetically, characters like Hela and Hawkeye and Punisher and hell, maybe even any long-range poke characters in this game get nerfed, there is a chance that Wolverine will get buffed by proxy, making him considerably stronger, especially into comps that have multiple tanks. If we ever see a GOATS meta in this game, it will be prime time for Wolverine mains, because they will chunk through that damage. GOATS being a 3 tank 3 support comp. But as long as the meta favors longer range poke characters or other dive characters, Wolverine is gonna kinda suffer a bit. He can be played as a pretty strong backline defender because of the fact that he can 1v1 a tank, because of the fact that he can CC any enemy out of an area where they can get pocket from their team, or bring any flankers or characters diving their supports into basically a kill box where he can just farm them. He really isn't that good into flyers. It's kind of a Hulk situation, which I haven't even talked about the Hulk team up. We'll get there in a second. But he can technically take flyers out of the air with his leap. Problem with his leap is it's kind of got a bit of a height cap to it, and it doesn't go as far as you'd think. And for the most part, it needs to have the connection at the beginning of the leap in order to really get a lot of value out of it. So hitting these is pretty difficult, and it's not even that great of value. Wolverine doesn't really lock enemies down while he's hitting them, so characters that can move fast or move away just kind of outrun his base attacks. That's why you need the combos to do anything, and why he's strong into tanks who usually have a lot less mobility. If you actually manage to connect on a flyer, there's a good chance they just kind of fly away from you. So I would actually say they are pretty risky. That being said, a lot of characters fly up to hit their ultimate. Characters like Scarlet Witch or Magneto. And when these characters do this, they are really solid targets for Wolverine's dive. If he connects with an ulting opponent, it counts as a stun while they're being tackled. So he can cancel quite a few high priority ultimates that do not have the unstoppable, the yellow health bar, and basically open up your team to just absolutely dunk on these people. These situations are where a Wolverine will carry when they have a lot of tanks or when they have a lot of ults in the air that usually aren't prone to getting CC'd. Magneto players will shit their pants when you go at them at Mach fuck and take them into the ground and slash the crap out of them, canceling their ult that they were about to use to dominate your entire team. Scarlet Witch players aren't that bright, so it's really easy to CC them out of their ultimate. Now that we've covered the very few instances where Wolverine has winning matchups into characters and the many instances where Wolverine will do fuck all to help your team, let's talk about characters that he pairs well with. Wolverine pairs exceptionally well with characters like Hela and Hawkeye, because they will actually do stuff while you feed your brains out and probably pick up the slack. And the few instances where you work well, you actually make up for their weaknesses pretty substantially by being good at dealing with tanks, flankers, and ultimates they can't shoot their way out of. Aside from that, you can go hard dive with characters like Psylocke or Spider-Man's and see some success there, where you focus moving the tank out or taking them down, and they focus the squishier characters in the backline. A character like Black Panther or Magic can work really well as a more committal dive character because they also have that solid damage output and usually some form of survivability with how quick they are, but they can also stick around when a fight gets a little messy. Brawling on the front line next to a character like Thor isn't half bad either, although you do want to make sure you're not going full brain off and losing your passive all the time, playing a bit more subtly to sort of drag characters into things like his bubble or his CC chains. You can see a lot of success with that. His team up with the Hulk is pretty solid, but you're again probably using it wrong. You can use the team up to disengage from fights because you basically teleport to his hand, or in the mid fight to just sort of go for an insta throw. If you are a Hulk player and a Wolverine requests team up in the middle of a fight, grab him and instantly throw him at whoever you're punching. You'll get a free CC off and a bit of extra damage. Going for the big toss plays is very risky. More often than not, it leads to both the Hulk and the Wolverine feeding. Hulk is also pretty atrocious, so trying to jump in and bubble the Wolverine isn't really worth it. More often than not, it's a lot more successful for the Wolverine to be kind of playing their own game, not relying wholly on the Hulk to set up their plays for them. I did.
Oh, I'm not gonna throw you into that. That's Spider-Man's. Oh, I'm sorry.
You fucking lied! I had to burn all my cooldowns just to live, man. You're basically trading off using your leap ability to instead use it frame one to get out of the fight that your Hulk threw you into because you took 1 billion damage on the way in, lost your passive already, don't have time to pop your E, and you'll probably die before you're even out. I see a world in which Hulk and Wolverine get some buffs and this becomes a really busted team up, but in its current state, it's just not that. For the most part on Wolverine, you're actually going to want to be looking for more soft dives or an opportunity to steal their tank. You aren't really that committal of a dive character to be able to really win your ones, at least not in his current state. This could very well change, and I'm sure it will eventually. Wolverine does feel like a bit of a sleeper pick when it comes to dealing with tank-heavy teams, and I feel like realistically he's very healthy for the game, because he seems like a tank buster, but not a frontline tank buster like a character like Reaper in Overwatch or Punisher in Rivals is. Instead, much more of a flank-heavy pick-apart your team comp tank buster, which is kinda new to a game like Rivals, or just the hero shooter genre in general. Would I recommend that you learn him? Maybe if you're struggling into very tank-heavy team comps. For the most part, no. He is really bad. He's hands down my most played character in this game right now, and I am too scared to bring him out in comp because I can barely make that fucking dude work in quick play, and I know how he works. Most Wolverine players that I've seen, I don't even think know that. And you can't blame them for it because the game doesn't even tell you the fact that he's supposed to be used to fight tanks. If you're really looking for the DPS to carry games, I don't know why you're watching a video about how to play Wolverine. That's not the character to do so. But if you're already playing Wolverine, I hope this helped you get a little bit better at him. He's a solid back pocket pick or a mix-up. He's pretty chunky, pretty survivable, and pretty scary to enemy tanks. And if you like characters like Doomfist, or just the concept of feeding like an absolute moron in the enemy's backline, you can't get much better than Wolverine. That being said, you will need to have a healing factor of your own on your mental just to deal with the amount of shit you're gonna get by the virtue of playing this awful character. Rivals, if by any chance someone sees this, please buff this character. He's so ass, man. And maybe you'll see me next week for another video. Probably not, though. I don't think I'll be streaming much, so I won't have much content to work with. But we'll see. Anyways, thank you for stopping by, and I'll catch you on the next one.